Is it really worth it to buy an expensive mechanical keyboard? Welcome back to FTW Tech. I'm your host Isaiah, and today I hope to assist you guys in answering the question of how much money should you really shell out on a keyboard, and is it really worth it? When you're on subreddits like r/mechanical keyboards, you're gonna see some crazy keyboards and some crazy elitist things. And I have to say that I am part of the problem, not on that subreddit specifically, but I do like to hate on people that buy pre-built a lot, so I can't say that I'm not elitist in some ways. But I will say it can be overwhelming when confronted with elitists when you are new to any community, and I really should practice what I preach. But as you guys know, I'm doing TLDRs now in all of my videos, which are really TLDWs because you are watching the video. I recently got some input from one of my viewers on my Corsair RGB fans video that I should stick to more important information, condense it down, and make it more like Alpha Gaming's videos. And I love Alpha Gaming, by the way. I watch him a lot. So my goal today is to try to convey the information so you guys can understand it. I hope I've been doing that already, but I really want to get my point across, and I want to make sure you guys understand it. If there's anything at all that you don't understand, let me know down in the comments, and also give me any and all feedback, okay? Any and all feedback. I will say, I can't do B-roll shots of the products that I talk about oftentimes because obviously I am a new YouTuber. You know, not new, what am I saying? Why am I calling myself new? I've been doing YouTube for 11 years, but I'm not a big YouTuber. I don't have a budget, I don't have sponsorships, and I don't have companies that I work with to get review samples yet. So I cannot show you guys what I'm talking about most of the time. As you can see behind me, I've got my incomplete setup. So I'm currently working on building my setup and testing stuff without doing cable management. That's a work in progress, all right? You might want to disregard that. And finally, before I start this video, I want to say I'm sorry. I've got the laundry running right over there. So again, I'm very sorry about that. Again, give me all the feedback that you want to give me down in the comments below. Let's get into it. So the TLDW for this video is that you should definitely build your own keyboard. If you don't want to do that or it costs too much, get a board from an enthusiast brand like Ducky, Varmillo, or Drop. Or if you're a gamer on a budget, try any TKL or smaller, board from Cooler Master, the EpoMaker Skyloom SK61, that's a pretty good board, the Game Note 60% board, the HyperX Alloy Origins Core with Aqua switches, the Drop Enter, or the HK Gaming GK61. If you must have wireless on a budget, which means Bluetooth and not 2.4 gigahertz, unfortunately, try the RK Royal Clutch RK61, the Obens Lab and Pro 2, or any Keychron board. Whatever you do, don't get a full-sized board for gaming. Expensive boards are dope, but the average user should get the Ducky 1.2 Mini, period. So, that was the TLDW. So if you want to click off the video right now, by all means, be my guest. However, I do want to give you more insight into what I just said. So hopefully I can do that. I'm going to be looking down at my computer because I've got notes here, but hopefully I'll be able to do it, not crazy. So you may think you're hacking the system when you buy a cheap board like the $35 Red Dragon K552 or a cheap mechanical keyboard from PicTech for like 25 bucks. But the spoiler alert is that you're not. There are many compromises you make when you're buying boards that are maybe sub $80 or sub $50 even. And you need to know about those compromises that you could be making. So let's begin by saying this. If you're on a tight budget, then by all means grab the K552 over a crappy membrane keyboard. The lowest of the low is a membrane keyboard. So get literally any mechanical keyboard over a non-mechanical keyboard. Any at all. Okay, even a K552 or a cheap PicTech Chan Chow board, whatever. However, at just $50, if you could stretch just a little bit from 35 to 50, the G.Skill KM360 is an amazing option. It comes with Cherry MX Red switches for just $50, and I do believe that it is actually the cheapest board out there, at least the cheapest mass-produced one that people know about from a reputable brand that has Cherry MX switches. So it's a great option. The first problem with cheap mechanical keyboards is that if you go wireless, you go with Bluetooth and not 2.4 gigahertz. So I briefly touched on this earlier, but for gaming, Bluetooth, it really doesn't cut it in terms of long-term reliability. And I'm not saying that as in it'll break. However, the connection can often cut out, and it's just not the way to go for gaming. If you're a workstation person or a super casual gamer who just games kind of on the side, fine. But if you take gaming even somewhat seriously, or you stream on Twitch or anything like that, I would not recommend a Bluetooth keyboard. There are great 2.4 gigahertz wireless keyboards out there, like the Logitech G915, but Bluetooth is not the way to go for gaming, in my opinion. It's gotten a lot better recently, don't get me wrong, but anyways. Another issue is the build quality of cheap keyboards. So this includes the frame, the switches, and the keycaps. So knockoff switches such as Utemu switches are subpar when compared with Cherry. Now, popular boards like the RK61, K552, Pictex $30 keyboard, and others, they all use these crappy knockoff switches, like those from Utemu. The problem with these switches is the long-term reliability, wobble, and a scratchy feel when you press them. Some Utemu users also report inconsistency, especially in actuation force. So one switch might take a certain amount of force to press down, another one completely different. So it's that inconsistency also. If you're on a budget, you're better off with a switch from Gateron or Kalih. Personally, my favorite switch that I've ever tried is the Kalih Box Burnt Orange. I really like Kalih Box switches. I really like them. But I also like the Gateron switches, and so those are both decent companies that you can get on a budget. They do tend to be cheaper than Cherry a lot of the time. In some cases, Gateron and Kalih are better, as I said. As much as brands like Corsair would like you to believe that Cherry is superior because they've been using them for years and they try to market them as, you know, the standard. So the best switches these days, though, are custom optical switches like those from Razer, or enthusiast mechanical switches from brands like Zelios, Novelkeys, Glorious, or Varmilo. You also want double-shot ABS or PBT keycaps and not standard non-double-shot ABS keycaps. Cheap keycaps legends can wear off over time as well. That's another reason, besides a scratchy feel on the top of the keycap. You'll be able to tell if it's cheap plastic or not. You really will. Metal frames made of materials such as aluminum are better than plastic frames in most cases. Some keyboards, such as the Ducky Mecha Mini, have a full aluminum case, not just the frame or the top plate. Full aluminum case. I can demonstrate this. Look, this is my keyboard, the Ducky Mecha Mini. This whole thing is aluminum. You hear that? That is solid metal. Solid metal. So a board like that, very good quality. Next, the build quality of cheap keyboards is usually sorely lacking, with some exceptions. Switches and stabilizers often are not lubed in cheap boards, and many keyboard beginners are not comfortable lubing switches themselves. If you go with an enthusiast brand like Durgod, you can get boards with pre-applied lube, making your typing experience so much smoother. Furthermore, poor quality stabilizers can lead to wobble and rattle, which are basically the same thing, but wobble is basically bad stabilizers. You can feel the switch wobble around. You can see on my Ducky board here, there's not a lot of wobble. See, the stabilizers on this board, they're very good. And rattle is kind of along the same line, pretty much. It's just when it's kind of loosely put together. And yeah, the keycaps and the hot-swappability of a keyboard also play a big role. And Google Docs here, it's telling me that hot-swappability is not a word. Obviously with a hyphen, hot-swappability. It says it's not a word, but you know what? I don't really care. So the hot-swappability can also play a big role, as do the RGB LEDs for that sweet gamer look that we all love. In fact, let's show you guys that sweet RGB LED action. You can hear my PC ramping up, but look at this board, ladies and gentlemen. Like I was talking about, RGB LEDs for that sweet gamer look. Look at that, beautiful, beautiful, pretty beautiful. All right, now let me turn this off because the fans are really loud. I'll be right back. Side note, if anyone can tell me how to fix the issue where for some reason my power button on the top of my case, it turns the PC on, but when I press it to turn it off, it doesn't turn off. So I have to go all the way around to the back and turn off the power supply switch. So if anyone can tell me how to fix that, that would be great. Anyways, Many boards such as the Drop Alt allow you to easily swap out the switches on your keyboard without desoldering or soldering or anything like that. And even several budget boards on Amazon also provide that functionality. Additionally, the LEDs on cheap keyboards are generally dimmer and less customizable. Not to mention, some cheap keyboards are marketed as LED. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are RGB in the traditional sense. Some boards, they look like they're a rainbow, and the picture will show a section of it is red, a section is blue, a section is green, a section is like white or light blue, a section is, whatever, orange, whatever. But in reality, the colors might just be locked that way. They might turn on and off and on and off, but that doesn't mean they're RGB. They might literally be locked that way, and they might not be customizable. So that's another thing to look out for. Just always, make sure you're looking at reviews and stuff like that. Some features can be found on both cheap and expensive keyboards, however. Macro keys, wrist rests, and multimedia keys can be found on all different price ranges from $50 to $250. But I'd stay away from most boards with these features because many are either low quality boards from brands like Havit, or Corsair boards that are overpriced. You can see on the Corsair K100, sure, it's a pretty good board, it's got the macro keys and all that, but it's so massive, it's just not good for gaming. And so I would stay away from things like that, personally. That's just my opinion. You may find a cheap keyboard with the switches you want, but not the features you want, or a board with lots of features, but not the switches you want. If you are able to spend a bit more money on a keyboard, you may be able to find a keyboard with both the switches and the features you want. Simplicity and a clean look are very important features for keyboard enthusiasts. A clean look and feel. People like it to be really smooth and awesome like that. So that's where a lot of the tactile switches with Krytox, lube come in, stuff like that. I'm not going to get into that today because I'm not an expert in that. I've never built a keyboard. I've seen some keyboard building videos. I have a cousin who's really into building keyboards. Shout out to Flops on YouTube. I'll link him in the description. But anyways, then there are the minor quality of life features that you might find on more enthusiast options such as Ducky and Varmello boards, such as detachable USB-C cables and clean but tasteful aesthetics. Tasteful implementation of RGB can really be a breath of fresh air compared to gaudy, crazy RGB like the, let's think, the Wamier K87, right? Let's put that on screen. The Wamier K87, oh, it's insane. I actually do like the design. I'm an RGB enthusiast, if I do say so myself. Not enthusiast. I love RGB. I'm an RGB fanboy, but you could argue it's not tasteful implementation. It's just gaudy and over the top. I'm getting off track here. Some features, though, are found more often on mainstream boards, such as cable routing underneath the board and extra functionality keys such as macro keys. However, it's not worth it, as if you can shell out the money for a $200 Corsair keyboard that has the macro keys, you could instead spend that $200 on a Ducky Mecha Mini or 1-2 Mini and a macro pad, and you'll be getting better quality that way. And a smaller keyboard that will give you more space to flick around your mouse while you're gaming. Let me conclude by saying this, okay? If you're comfortable building a keyboard, you definitely should. I regret not doing it myself. I kind of wish I had, but it is pretty expensive. You can even build keyboards now without soldering, so that's really cool. You can choose a good quality metal case, design your keycaps, and your favorite switches. You can customize a keyboard that you build yourself to your liking. And that includes the lighting, the lube, the color scheme, and you can even choose a mounting method for your switches. You can also insert a foam pad for sound dampening in your keyboard. If you absolutely must get a pre-built keyboard, however, instead of building one yourself, I would recommend any board from Drop, Ducky, or Varmello, the Mountain Everest Max, or if you're a gamer on a budget, try any 10 keyless board from Cooler Master or smaller than 10 keyless, the Eppomaker Skyloom SK61, the Game Note 60% board, the HyperX Alloy Origins core with Aqua switches, and this is stuff I said earlier, but I'm just saying it now in the end as I conclude, the Drop Enter or the GK61. if you must have wireless on a budget, which would be Bluetooth, try the RK Royal Clutch RK61, the Obens Lab and Pro 2, or any Keychron board. Budget keyboards can really get you a lot. Look at the RK61. For just $65, you can get a wireless keyboard that has a white color scheme, RGB lighting, a 60% form factor. It works on Windows 10 and Mac, and it has red switches of an unknown brand. Although it seems they may make it themselves, or at least they brand it that way, I think. That's what it seems by looking at their website. And that's really not bad for just $65. And by the way, as I said in the beginning, whatever you do, don't get a full-sized board. Chant it with me. Don't get a full-sized board. We're moving away from them, finally, and these big brands are realizing that they should be moved away from. So I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, don't get a full-size board, especially for gaming. It's not worth it. Unless you're a mathematician using a numpad every day, you don't need a full-size board, period. Okay. So would I recommend an expensive keyboard? Yes and no. If you're spending $2,000 on a full setup, maybe spend $100 on a keyboard, Ducky 1-2 Mini. If you have a super high budget that exceeds that, go for something crazy, by all means. Building a $400 keyboard will be super fun and exciting, and you will be pleased with the finished product. Let's get that clear. You'll be very pleased. And you'll be proud of yourself, too, because you'll have built a keyboard to your liking, your specifications, and you'll be able to flex it, and it'll be really sick. It'll feel so good, too. Like lubed cream switches, oh my god, amazing. From what I've heard, I've never felt them myself. But I've never felt lubed switches at all, I don't think. But anyways. So, yeah. However, once you do pass that threshold of, say, $130, which is about what my Ducky Mecha Mini here is, it's about $130, you do reach that point of diminishing returns. So, the average user, if you take one thing away from this video, the average user who's not comfortable building their own keyboard for hundreds of dollars should get the Ducky 1-2 Mini. And I stand by that, period. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching.